Good evening and welcome to Local Matters. Today is Wednesday, January 3rd, 2018. My name is Barry Verrill. I'm your co-host. With me, as usual, our co-host, David Fucher. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Barry. It's always good to be here, especially on my youngest son's birthday.
It's his birthday today?
17 today.
Wow.
Happy birthday, Greg.
Happy birthday, Greg. Who's our guest today?
We are honored to have with us the esteemed mayor of the city of Woodland.
So we're talking
Mayor Finn.
all things Woodland today? Is that our goal?
I hope
Things
so.
Woodland.
I hope so. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, Will. Appreciate it. So you've been mayor for how long now?
2 years. I just started
years.
year 3, and we're at the
Okay.
beginning here. So 2016 was the first day, and we're just been plugging right along.
So you're halfway done.
I'm halfway. I'm 2 years. I'm 2 years in. How about that?
All right. So, you know, the history of Woodlands Council and mayoral relations is spotted at best.
Yes.
I don't think I'm telling you anything you don't know, but you feel like it's been a little more positive for you in the last couple of years?
Absolutely, absolutely. And last night was our first meeting with some new members. We had 3 new members join us last night and 1 returning member, I believe, for his 3rd term. 3rd or 4th, I can't remember. He's been there so dang long. So we started a new council yesterday, some new members. But over the last 2 years, I think when I was going through election back in 2015, I was attending meetings and kind of keeping track of what was going on, and I was very concerned with the relationship with the person in the middle and then the 7 that sat on the outside. It was very clear that some lines had been drawn in the sand. So I made it a point right out of the gate that we needed to change that. We need to start working together as a team. And I think that I've achieved that. I feel pretty good about that. I'm confident about that. I brought in a city administrator with me, the first one in history for the city of Woodland. I'm very pleased with that, and that council agreed to hire them before I even took office, or to allow me to hire someone through the budget process for a city administrator. So I think that's been extremely positive and very successful. But the relationship between the legislative branch and the executive branch, I believe, is good. And as of yesterday, it's gotten even better.
Good. That's, I mean, having 3 new faces on a 7-member panel is big change.
Absolutely. And those members they're well ingrained within the community on top of it. We have Janice Graham, former First Lady and wife of Mayor Jim Graham and former Police Chief Jim Graham. So she's been around for a while. She kind of knows the major players in town. We had a wonderful conversation about 6 months ago when she was going through the campaign. She was excited to join the team and said, you know, you've already brought some positive changes, and I want to be a part of it, and I want to help Woodland grow and go down the road. Mrs. Carol Rounds has also joined us, who is the wife of a
fixture in Woodland.
Absolutely. Ran the bank for many years, was the branch manager there, or I'm not quite sure what her title was, but I know that she ran the place.
I think you nailed it with
Did I? Okay. And then she's also the wife of a former council member, so she kind of knows the ins and outs of what to expect, and brings a lot to the table, being a member of Business Chamber, Rotary, and that's probably just 2 of probably what she joins or what she has on her plate already. And then we have David Plaza, who is a local business owner in town, has joined us. So we're excited to have him. He's actually sitting right to my left now, so it's good. But all 3 of those folks, those new faces, are sitting to my left now. So that was the whole change on that side, which is, it was a little struggle last night running the meeting because I couldn't remember who was sitting where, trying to get those voices down.
Map.
Yeah, I need a little map. Trying to get those voices down and make sure that I'm calling them by the right names and not the former members.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, Mr. Fredericks, Ben Fredericks, who's been there for a few terms, started another term last night as well.
Well, it's not bad for starting off with new people. They really aren't. At least 2 of the 3 weren't new. And the 3rd one, he has some experience with the history with the city too.
Yeah, a former employee, so he's got some knowledge of the city and what we're about and how everything works together and kind of fits together like a little puzzle. So everyone brings some knowledge to the table, and of course Ben's been there Mr. Fredericks has been there for a while, so he definitely knows. He's one of the senior members along with Susan Humberg. She's been there longer than Ben has, so and she was elected again, re-elected the same time I was, so she's got a lot of experience, and she's fixture in Cowlitz County as well. She sits on many boards and commissions and committees and things like that. So we have a lot of experience up there. Even though that some of them may be new, we're excited to have them.
Well, that's valuable because experience is in Kelso. The rest of the council put together has less experience than I do on the council by myself. So yeah, we've got a bunch of new folks, and it gives new opportunities, it gives new challenges.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that when you bring new folks in, and I was naive, of course. I wanted to blaze a trail on day one. It's like, we're going to go ahead and charge ahead, and everybody's like, pump the brakes, Finn, pump the brakes. There's a process and there's a way of doing things, and it takes a little bit of time. Yeah. So once I kind of grasped that and how to work through that process, I think that things have gotten easier for me. But I think it's important too that we have changeover, because new people bring new ideas and maybe have a different vision of the way things should be done or could be done, and makes it better for everybody.
You had the chance to have a husband-wife team on your council. What were you thinking about that possibility?
Thought you said no hard-hitting questions.
Yeah, you told me I was lying.
That would, yeah, I know, I did. I think we don't have to be too concerned with it, because it didn't happen. There were some concerns on my end that there was potential for some problems that could be there. I don't know of any married couple that in my circle of friends, or even with my wife, if my wife sat up there would be some arguments when we got home. I mean, and I'm not saying that there wouldn't be, or there would be with this particular couple or not, but I can tell you that I think it would have probably been a little hard, especially after a tough meeting and maybe you had a difference of opinion, to go home and have dinner together. So, but and Mrs. Heffernan, she was wonderful. She did 4 years up there on council, and she challenged council a number of times, including myself, over the past 2 years, and I commend her for that. During an election like we just had, it was hard at times. There was some challenges between some of the candidates, but at the end of the day, there was an election. We have some new faces on council, but I have to say that everyone should be extremely proud of themselves and the job that was put out there and the effort that was put forward to get elected and attempt to serve the citizens of Woodland. And I think that's what really it comes down to. And I believe I did say that right after the election, that everyone should be proud of themselves. Regardless if you won or lost, or what you've done up here, or what you think you should have done, you should still be proud of what you did do, and their family should be proud of them on top of that. It's not easy to put yourself out there and ask to be judged, because that's what happens as elected officials. One thing that I've noticed over my last 2 years is that there's the line with an elected official, I believe, is taken away. Sometimes there's not a courtesy there. There's almost a I own you type thing. You work for the citizens.
24/7 availability.
Absolutely. We can say whatever we want. If I'm dissatisfied with you, I'm going to tell you how dissatisfied I am with you, and I'm not going to hold back. That courtesy is not there. And that's been a little hard to digest at times.
Because they pay your salary.
Well, of course. But there's expectations on their side. But I think that sometimes that as citizens that are passionate about something within the community, or a topic or a subject, I think folks fail to realize that the person that's sitting in the chair is just as passionate about the entire community, and that's why they stepped up to serve. So I try to give a little bit of leeway, but it doesn't mean that I like it.
And it's more difficult for you because your day job, you do get respect, sort of almost for the job.
Yeah, sometimes it is a given that you get it, but then, and times are changing in the world of law enforcement.
Well, let's be clear what your day job is.
Yeah, I'm a police officer, but we'll just leave it at that. So and there's an air of respect that comes with that uniform and with that job. But you also have to remember too that police officers must demand that respect at times, because they have a job to do. They're there to keep people safe. They're trying to keep order and make sure that everything is going the way that it's supposed to go. So without having that hard line of respect, and that's when folks start to get into trouble. And I'm not saying that you have to respect the person that wears the uniform, but we should be respecting the uniform itself. That person was put in that position to do a job just like an elected official was, or is put in. There has to be a level of respect there, and understanding that we all have a job to do and we all have a role to play, regardless of what side of the table that you're on. But They're very similar at times. Both jobs are very similar at times.
You're not always popular in either job.
Exactly, exactly. When you show up with the car to read to a group of preschoolers, you're the most popular person in the room at the time.
Yeah, and then there's some payback for that sometime
Yes,
later.
yes, there is.
Well, speaking of police and the city of Woodland, you guys have a relatively new police chief on
Yes.
board. Tell us about him and what attracted you to him.
So James Kelly, our new police chief, started here a few months back. He comes from the Washington State Patrol, and I know that there was a little bit of there's some
Yeah, you got your
tie-in
buddy
there.
in there.
Yeah, I got my buddy in there, and that's not true. And I try to say that all the time. Jim actually, and he's doing a wonderful job.
Good.
He is doing a great job. I'm very pleased with the performance. The morale in the department has skyrocketed. We're doing great. He's got some really great ideas for the department and for the guys to. I'm always about the fiscal line there. So, and he's very aware of that, and he's very appropriate with that so far from what I've seen. So it's good. And he likes to be out in the community. He likes to get out there and meet people, and he wants to engage with them and talk with them and let them know what the police department's all about. But he wasn't our first choice. There was a guy from Chicago that backed out at the last minute. I believe the day before he was supposed to show up, he backed out.
It was too warm here?
It was, yes. I guess he had a better offer.
And you learn he only gets one vote in Cowlitz County.
Yeah.
In Chicago, we got 3 or 4.
And he was well qualified to come and join us in the city, and we were excited to have him as well. But things happen for a reason, and I do believe that. And we had the opportunity to go back to the pool of folks that already had been vetted and put on a list, and I pulled Jim up at that point. I have made it a point over the last 2 years, anytime that we've hired somebody, that I don't get involved. I let the process happen. I let the committee and the interview panels be formed. I don't participate. The only time I come in is like, hey, this is what the committee, here's your 4 people. The committee has ranked them in order from 1 to 4, 1 being their number 1 pick. Here you go, you decide. And every time I've gone with number 1. I haven't strayed from what the committee and what the advice of all those business folks, people in the community, average Joe citizen. We try to get everybody in there to participate as much as you can. As you know, it's hard to get folks to participate. So we tend to call on a lot of the same people, but through that process, and we pick number 1 every single time. So this was the first time that I had to go back to the list. Number 1 has worked out every time. So this is the first time I had to go back to the list, and I looked at the list and said, you know what? I've met all the candidates. I want to go with Jim. I want to go with James Kelly. And it worked out, and council agreed, and we're moving forward, and I think that he's going to do some wonderful things with that department.
You mentioned morale skyrocketing. That implies that it was somewhere less than in the sky before this hire. Tell me about some of the factors that you think contributed to that and how you've dealt with those issues.
Well, I think that's a difficult question because I don't work in that department. And my philosophy with any of the executive staff is I let them go in and run their department. If you have a problem, let's sit down and talk and try to work our way through that issue and try to come to a reasonable solution. Although we do meet weekly, we talk it out. I know what's going on. I don't want people to think that I'm non-existent on what's happening in the city and I'm oblivious to it. I know what's happening, but I try not to interject myself into this department, especially that department, just due to my ties in my other job that I do. I don't want to give the perception that I'm trying to make them something that they're not. So when I say the morale is skyrocketing, we're going through, I'm getting that from Chief Kelly.
Gotcha.
That's not, everyone is wonderful. I've worked with those guys before I was elected in my other role in law enforcement. So I know who they are. I know what kind of job they do, and I know what's expected of them, and they're a great group of people. They really are. They're hard workers. But again, when I say morale's going through the roof, it's because I'm hearing that from Chief Kelly, and I have to believe that.
Good. Tell me about your city administrator. I mean, that, as you mentioned, was a relatively new thing for the city of Woodland, and it kind of involves you delegating.
You're going down the controversy road today, aren't you?
It's all about ratings.
It's all about ratings now. All right.
No, I just wanted to commend the city on that because I think it's a smart move. Not that you personally wouldn't have been capable of taking all that on, but in general, I think it's a good.
I'm gonna revise that statement you just made, though. Sure. I was not capable, and I'm not capable of running that city on a full-time basis. So to say that I'm not capable, I will be the first one to step up and say I am not capable of running daily operations alone in that city. Am I capable and have a skill set? I could probably work my way through it, but not without relying on the executive staff themselves and taxing them with trying to get me through it. And I didn't think that was appropriate. I ran because I was mad. I was upset, and I'm sure we've all been there, those that have been down the elected road. We were upset about one particular issue and wanted to go give someone the what for and put them on the hot seat and ask them questions. I was upset about my water bill. I was upset about the fact that it was embarrassing to go to a council meeting and see this show, and people are showing up with popcorn to watch everything go down. I live in this community. This is my city too. I am providing a resource just like my neighbors are and my friends across town. We need some more professionalism in here. We need to raise the bar. This is not okay. And as I started diving in and speaking to some council members and pulling data off the website and kind of reading the papers and seeing all these issues and things that were going on around me, I was completely oblivious to it. And then as you start diving in, I started to get more angry and I started to get more upset. It's like, well, how do we change this? Well, I'm going to throw my name into that and I'm going to run for mayor, knowing full well I'm not going to win. So I'm going to show them, right? So with the expectation that the person that was sitting in the seat was going to throw their name into the hat too. And I was going to be able to get up there and publicly have this conversation in front of groups of people of why is this happening? Why do we have all these lawsuits? Why is the council meetings ran like a circus? I never got that opportunity because I won. Because I was the only one. I was the only one who was willing to put my name into the hat. Right. And once I realized that, I think I realized that the city was going to be going down a road that it was going to be worse off me taking over unless I was able to get some help. So I approached one of the council meetings and I said, listen, I'm paraphrasing here, listen, I won, okay? I'm coming in 4 months and I can't do the job. And I'm fully admitting that to everyone right now. And of course there was some pushback, well, why would you put your name in the hat if you couldn't do it? Why would you do this? Again, things happen for a reason. Right. And I absolutely pushed and said, I want a city administrator. I have to have somebody with a professional skill set. You can't pull somebody off the street and expect them, and I'm the person they're pulling off the street, and expect them to run $17 million daily and expect it to go okay. I don't have that kind of a checkbook. I don't even know what that looks like. Not to mention the fact I work in government, but not on this side of the curtain in government. So again, when I say I was naive when I came charging through there saying we're going to make changes and have them say, whoa, 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 hold on, boss. We need to reel this back. Let's sit down and have a meeting about how this is supposed to go and how you get there. So that we brought on Mr. Boyce. Well, we brought on an interim, Denny Richards, who used to be the battleground in Kelso. So he was well aware of the area. He came down for a few months, 4 months, and got the administration up and going, and we started going down the tracks, and then we brought Mr. Boyce in from Oregon City. So, or Gladstone, sorry, from Gladstone. He's been wonderful. He's been wonderful. I can't say enough good things about Pete. He deals with a lot. Yeah. The person in that position deals with a lot of stuff, whether it be employee issues, mayor issues, council issues, executive staff issues, and then citizen issues on top of it. I mean, there's just so much on a daily basis that he does for us that there's just no way I could do it without him.
No, I mean, the interesting part to me is, City of Woodland, City of Kalama, the county have all kind of in the last few years added that professional administrator level, and I think it's a very healthy thing.
Does the county have a professional administrator now?
They just added Axel Swanson as the chief of staff, which is essentially the same role as an administrator.
I just read an article here a few days ago that they didn't have one, and I thought they didn't have a county administrator or a county executive, I think is the title that they gave.
They don't have that same title. But you were watching the Local Matters show a couple weeks ago when we interviewed Axel,
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. The kids were running around in the back.
I got you. All right. Yeah.
And we asked Axel when he was here, I mean, it's hard to elect a politician and then say, oh, you're a great politician, and now we want you to run public works and Parks and Rec, and you could just be an expert in 17 different things, plus be a good politician. That'd be good for me.
Absolutely. And then we go back to that courtesy and that line that's drawn when you run to somebody at the grocery store because things aren't going well. I read that article, and it had to do with Commissioner Mortensen saying that he wasn't going to run again, and then part of that had to do with that there was a conversation in there about a county executive and how he didn't support that. But then as I started reading more and started doing a little bit more research, I guess I was oblivious. I'm so in my bubble in the city and trying to make sure that the city is running properly that I guess I didn't realize that those 3 commissioners were actually running the county. They're running daily operations. It speaks to volumes. I'm not saying they're doing a bad job. I'm just saying that you've got 3 people that can't even call each other on the phone and have a conversation about how we're going to drive our county forward and be successful. So at what point do we get together and say, hey, we need to step this up a little. We need to step our game up. And I believe that's what I've done in Woodland.
That point is upon us nearly, and I'll be giving you a call shortly about the efforts to create a county charter that might alleviate some of those challenges.
Okay, good. I completely support that. I completely support that. You know, and I commend anyone again that can step up and say, hey, I want to be your leader. I want to be the voice of the people. It's not easy. It's not easy. My piece of advice for somebody who's looking to get into it, don't go on social media. Charge ahead.
Exactly. Do not subscribe to Cowles County News Uncensored.
And the other thing, especially with county council, it's a full-time job, so that eliminates 80% of the people that could be a candidate, a good candidate.
Absolutely. I had somebody ask me, hey, maybe you should run for county commissioner. I'm like, hey, that sounds great. Where do I sign up to get the personal assistant to help me out? Because I have a job.
Right.
Elected officials, we shouldn't be relying, and I'm not saying that they are, please don't take this the wrong way. I don't think that we should be relying on that paycheck that comes in as an elected official. You can't. You're there to serve the people and do the job of the people. You can't go there and make a career out of it. And I'm not saying that these folks have done that at all.
No.
But we also have to have people with that skill set and subject matter experts in key positions to make sure that whoever is taking over that elected position, we're still driving the vision of the people. And that's what's important.
And as Barry mentioned, it excludes a bunch of people, like maybe, I don't know, people have a good CPA firm that they don't want to leave, from participating at that level, because you've got to give up one to do the other.
Absolutely. It can be challenging to juggle 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And a little continuity over the years wouldn't hurt either. I mean,
Absolutely.
politicians change out every 2 years, or potentially, I guess.
There's a learning curve that comes in, and every time there's a new person that's been elected, there's that stall out period, I believe that, and we're going to see a little bit. We have 4 folks that have been there. We've got 3 new members, and there's going to be some uploading that's going to have to happen, just like they did with me. It took them a minute to get me on board. It takes a village to raise a mayor. That's what this is.
That's your theme for next time.
That's my theme.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Just before you became the mayor, you got a new city council chambers down in Woodland, and it's right with the police department, correct?
It is, and that's, you want to talk about that. So it's a beautiful, because, so I came in, it was already built, they're up and functioning and running, and it was daily operations, the police stations is running out of there, and along with the council chambers. It's a beautiful building. The folks have given the city, and I was part of that vote, hey, let's give them the money and make this happen. They have a beautiful facility down there that's completely functional, but the thing that we have to remember as a city, and I learned this going into it, that those council chambers are only supposed to be there temporarily while the new city hall was being built. As some viewers and maybe yourselves know, that we've been in our current city hall since the 90s, and that was supposed to be a temporary situation. So now I've been tasked with, hey, let's build a new city hall. Every mayor that's coming forward, we got to figure this out. And with the city administrator, I think that he's done a great job finding money during the 2016 budget cycle. Unfortunately, we had money for a city hall. We were going down that road, and we were going to build a new one, or hopefully build a new one and get out of the police department and let them have their full space as originally designed. But we built a new fire station. We had that already in the works, and as the economy has improved, so did prices. So our city hall money had to be invested into the new fire station. So fortunately for us, or unfortunately, however you look at it, early this year in 2017, in January 2017, our current location, City Hall, flooded. We had a major roof leak, and we lost a lot of stuff on the inside, and so a lot of it has been revamped now with new materials, and we've upgraded it to a more desirable and not a 1990s facility. So knowing that we're going to be there for a while, we tried to make some accommodations as we went through to say, hey, we know that we need to make sure that we get enough people in here, because right now our city hall doesn't accommodate the entire city staff. We're spread out across the city. And my goal with building new city hall was, number one, future growth, making sure that we had enough room and we weren't in this situation in 10 years, hey, we need another new city hall. I didn't want that. And then also being able to pay for it, of course. But then number 3, making sure that all the resources that a citizen needs is in one location when it comes to permitting and planning and public works and all that. Although our police our police department, our fire departments across town, that's okay. I want to keep City Hall in downtown with a brand new facility with all the other resources in it, and we just haven't been able to do that. I don't know that we will be during my time. Maybe we will. I'm hoping that we can get that plan in there. We're working on a capital facilities plan with Mr. Boyce and trying to figure out how we're going to get there. Do we need to unload the old fire station, which will be vacated here pretty soon, which was the old City Hall and old council chambers, and the building's just not even able to be retrofitted. It would cost too much money. It's just not feasible. So looking at and talking with council about, do we unload property and reinvest it into City Hall? Do we pay off debt for the police department or the fire station? I mean, where do we go from here? So those conversations will be coming. But that facility, back to the facility, is wonderful, and I'm so happy and so thankful that the community came together and said, yes, let's give these guys what they need, because ultimately the city's responsibility is public safety and infrastructure. So let's take care of public safety, and at the same time we're working on infrastructure. So, and I think that we're providing that with a new fire station as well.
And at least city council's on the ground floor. Now, everyone can get in.
Yes, and they'll have to go up an elevator, and yeah, it holds more people. It's climate controlled.
Also good.
Helps.
Yeah, also good. Some nice equipment with microphones and recording devices and everything else in there. We're now filming our council meetings, which is something new that I started.
So we can eat the popcorn at home and watch
You can eat the
circus.
popcorn. So, but I think that we're getting a lot of citizen engagement that way, though, too. We're able to, when we talk about not going on social media, we're able to maybe dispel some of that misinformation that's being sent out there by being able to film our council meetings, and you as a citizen can go out there on Wednesday now, even though the meeting was on Monday, can go out there and watch and say, hey, I heard something at the grocery store, I'm gonna go home and watch the meeting now. Oh, that's not really what happened. Or, I'm really upset about this, I can't believe they decided this, I'm going down there at the next meeting and going to give them peace of my mind. And that's, I think it's another way to reach out and get citizens engaged with government.
Instead of going down there, you should be sending copies to us, and we'll be glad to air it, so they can sit on and watch it.
I believe we did look at that at one point.
Where do you air them now? You got a YouTube channel?
We have YouTube, yeah. So we're doing it on YouTube. And so folks can go to our website and get to it there, and we do live streaming, so which is good. But then there's an archive there, so you can go back and look at those meetings. We're now recording our planning commission meetings. We're starting to record more to allow for that transparency factor. We shouldn't be hiding anything. And if we have the means and the ability to put that out there for folks on their own time to go out there and view it and be engaged, I'm all for it. Absolutely.
Plus you run some ads there and you can make some money out there on your YouTube channel.
I did not know that. I'm going to take a note.
We're almost at the break, but I just, sort of not mayor related, but what happened to your pool down there? Why didn't that go through?
Which time?
Very. So let's look at it countywide. Let's not just look at the city of Woodland. Let's look at everything that was put out there countywide. If my memory serves me right, and it's only been a couple months.
Nothing passed.
The only thing, there was one thing that did pass, one thing, and that was the mosquito district for the city of Woodland. So we are now part of the mosquito district. We were the only one in the county that wasn't. I think that was a clear message. I think that, and not just pool related, I'm not picking on them at all, but we were asking for money for more police officers. We were asking for money for a pool. We were asking for money for a mosquito district. There was a lot of things that we were asking. We were asking for money for the transportation benefit district. We were asking for a lot, and maybe it might be, some have said it was voter fatigue. We've asked for too much, too many times. They don't want to give it to us. I think that there's a group of folks out there that said, hey, do you know what? I don't agree with the pool. I don't want to give you money, but I agree with the transportation benefit district, so I'm going to vote here and vote no over there. I just think that we were all over the board. I think that they did a good job. I think that they did a good effort, again, of getting out there and trying to get their message. I just think that since we're being honest, I just think that there's just too much negativity around that particular project. And I've met with the folks and said, hey, and I just think that there's just too much negativity, and we need to figure out how we're going to get beyond that and get folks on board with, I think it's a viable project. I really do. I think Scott Hill Park is a viable project. It's going to be wonderful once it's built. And that sports complex, 40 acres, it's going to be a draw to our region. We're trying to build a new library. We have a lot of community effort going out there to different projects. So part of my message that I try to say, and I have been really pushing the last few months, is I don't care what project you get behind or what you support, just get behind something. If you want to support the pool, then support the full pool and go for it. You don't have to agree with the library, you don't have to agree with Scott Hill Park. Just agree with something and get out there and either give your time, your talent, or your resources to that project to make sure that it happens. And be all in and be positive about it. If you don't agree with any of those community projects, that's fine too. We're not going to judge you on it. But I really hope you like basketball because we need a coach over at the school to coach the first graders. I mean, we need community engagement. We're a small community and it takes all of us to make sure that we're successful. So I think for folks to sit back and say, oh, no pool, no library, but we're going to take the park, let's stop the chatter and the negativity on the other two projects and just focus on what we can do and what you want to accomplish as a citizen. Sure. And that's been my message the last couple months. Get behind something and be positive about it. You don't have to agree with the other stuff because the other stuff is coming. Let's talk about the casino. You can't stop it, right? You can't stop A-Lane. So what are we going to do to embrace it? As much as maybe some folks within communities didn't want it, it's still going to show up. So how can, as a small community, how can we capitalize on that? How can we bring them into the fold a little bit and have a little bit of control, and how can we benefit? Right now they don't have a hotel. Guess whose hotels are full? This guy, I hope. Salmon Creek down in Clark County, their hotels. People are traveling to the area, so they're coming through, they're buying gas, they're buying groceries, they're buying snacks to go up to the casino. So I guess my point, and I know that we're talking about community projects, is just get behind something. That's all that I ask. But I think that the pool committee, they're going to have to reconvene, and they're going to try to figure out how to get the community on board. They were almost there. About half the community is on board with them. So how do we get the other half on board? And I think that's what needs to be visited. I think it's unfortunate because I think that our city will benefit from it, but I also believe the city will benefit from a new library, even though there's folks out there that speak against it. I believe that we are going to benefit tremendously from a 40-acre park and sports complex, which, by the way, I have some exciting news. Today we issued...
Wait, we got to tease it. We got to reveal
I've got some exciting news about the Sky Hill Park complex, and we'll stop there.
So we got to keep people watching through the commercials.
To the folks at home, I told you we were going to talk about all things Woodland, right? There you go. David, don't you hate a guest that doesn't have anything to say?
No, I love a guest.
To the folks at home, we're going to take a 3-minute break and maybe let the mayor take a breath for 3 minutes. And we'll be back, and he's got exciting news in the second half of the show, so come on back.
And see what it is.
It's harder whenever there's a bigger group. Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked. Thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
Marie, you have prediabetes.
Prediabetes? I don't have time to eat right or exercise. I'm a busy mom.
Oh, you're a busy mom.
Yeah.
This is great news. Busy moms never get prediabetes.
Wait, what?
Let me just... Yeah, this is all the people at risk for prediabetes, and way over here, busy moms. No?
Hi, I'm Paige McKenzie, the author of The Haunting of Sunshine Girl, and you're watching KLTV.
And I can't change, even if I try, even if I wanted to. My love, she keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm.
our neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Cowlitz AmeriCorps Network is making a difference. In Cowlitz and Wahkiakum counties, we are helping to increase the health of our communities by helping others succeed. Do you want to change your career, go back to college, or do something in your community after you retire? Are you 18 years old or older and would like to help others succeed while reaching your own personal goals? Become a Cowlitz AmeriCorps Network member and get things done. Apply online at www.lifeworkswa.org. Thank you.
Welcome back to the second half of the show. My name is Barry. This is David. Our guest today is the mayor of Woodland, and we're speaking all things Woodland. And I think it would be unfair to sort of not let you talk about all the lawsuits you kind of...
I thought we were talking about some good news, which that is good news. When I took over in 2016, there was a lot of material waiting on the desk for me to handle.
Exciting stuff.
Very exciting stuff. And as I go down my list here of talking points, we've settled those lawsuits, but we've also rose above those lawsuits as well, I believe. One in particular was with our wastewater treatment plant, with the department, L&I came down, and we had a lot of fines, and there were some other employee issues that were down there, and all those have now been settled. We lost some certification. Of course, I just want to make it clear, this is all before I got there.
That's right.
I just want to make sure that they were clear. Yeah. There was a lot of issues surrounding that facility, our wastewater treatment facility. We lost our certification, our testings, all these things, and we were spending a lot of money every month to have our wastewater treated, make sure that we're functioning properly. I'm happy to say now that we've gotten that certification back, and we're able to now start doing our own in-house testing again, which is saving us thousands of dollars a month. We've also had the ability to install some new equipment there, which is going to be saved. Now, there was some upfront cost with that, but within 18 months, 24 months or so, we'll be recouping that money. We're going to be saving over $100,000 a year now by installing this new piece of equipment. When we talk about the lawsuits, it was difficult to work, and I'm going to throw the state under the bus at this point. In working with them, I tried everything in my power. They were fining us about $98,000 or so, right around the $100,000 mark. And the attorneys got together, insurance got together, everybody got together, and they're like, hey, we think we're being double and triple fined here on some things, and we need to go out and have these conversations. My intention with going out there was getting to at least get it cut by half, and then, which would have been $50,000, and then asking them to give that money back to us on a
grant towards improvements, right?
Well, to improve our safety plan. A lot of the issues that were surrounded had to do with safety. So obviously the city wasn't performing at top notch and keeping the employees safe and making sure we're doing things appropriately. So I wanted that money back, and if we failed, I'd be more than happy to write the check because we didn't do what we're supposed to anyway. Of course, they said no, thank you, to that idea. I guess I wanted those fines deferred is what I'd liked them to happen, but we ended up having to pay, and part of the settlement agreement was that we would hire a safety person to come in and help us get up to snuff. And that's where we are right now with that particular situation. Is we've got a industrial hygienist that we're contracting with to get us to where they believe that we need to be, even though that we believe on our side, after me taking over, I shouldn't say taking over, after me taking the seat and driving the ship, we believe that we're there. I've come from a safety background. I love safety. We have to make sure the employees are safe, and that was number one goal in 2016 as well, is making sure we have a robust safety program in place, and we do. We made some changes to it. We've made it more robust, but of course, L&I said, hey, we still want you to pay, and on top of it, we want you to pay even more to have the industrial hygienist come in and help you get there, which it's fine. Listen, this all happened before I got here. If that's what we need to do to move past this, I'm happy with that. I'm just not happy with the outcome. But how can you be when you're being fined or sued?
Well, it's kind of counterintuitive for them to say, "Hey, here's some improvements you need to make. By the way, give us some money so you can't afford to."
Yes, exactly. It seems counterproductive to me, but I understand it, and I appreciate process and I appreciate going through the motions. I just wish that there could have been a more favorable outcome for the citizens who provide the resources. They are getting that now. They were getting that before the industrial hygienist is coming down, but maybe the industrial hygienist will be able to say, hey, you're still kind of maybe missing the mark here. Let's get you up to speed. And I'm okay with that. Whatever improves us and makes it better for everybody, sure. I'm down with that. I just don't like writing the check.
No, I get you.
Improved safety must really improve the happiness level of the staff, the city staff.
I like to think so, because we're all watching out for each other. We're all coworkers. You know, we spend a lot of our time together, and if, well, not to mention if somebody gets hurt, somebody's got to pick up the slack. Somebody's got to go out there and take away from the other duties. The city suffers from that. The employee that has to cover it is suffering from that. The employee who got hurt is now suffering, and their family could be suffering. So I believe in a culture of safety, and whatever we can do to minimize injury at work, I'm all for it. If that means spending a little bit of money to make sure that we're not going to be in trouble down the road, I'm okay with it.
You know, even with all those challenges, you've been able to present a couple balanced budgets to the city, to the council for approval. And how'd you get there with those kind of challenges? And you mentioned you've increased some staffing. Yeah. What lets you be able to get to a balanced budget?
So, Mr. Boyce, the city administrator, there's no way. That was another thing that upset me sitting through council meetings before I took over was, because I sat through the 2015 budget process, was here's your binder, council. This is from the executive branch to the legislative branch. You're $500,000 over budget, so go ahead and let us know what you want to cut, because all our wants and dreams are in there. And watching that and watching council and themselves fight back and forth over what was more important, and then fighting with the mayor and saying, hey, you know, we have to have that, staff has to have it, whatever it may be. It wasn't very fun to watch. So I made it a point when I came in to say, we will not do that. As long as I'm sitting in this chair, we are not going to go through that, because it's not okay. It's unprofessional and it's embarrassing. So it pits council members against each other. It pits the executive staff towards certain council members, because maybe they're going to cut their budget, but not the person that's sitting next to them. I mean, the whole bit, it's unnecessary. So the first time in all of those folks that were sitting up there, they've never had a balanced budget. And I've given them 2 now, and I'm very proud of that. The 2017 budget was wonderful. We had great revenues that were coming in. We were able to do some wonderful things. We upgraded Horseshoe Lake Park, put in a new play structure down there. We were able to do some nice community things to say, hey, look, we are working for you. These are your dollars being put back into the community. We're not putting them away and spending them on frivolous things. We're giving them back. Although there's 2 sides to every story, you know, but in the way that we look at, we were able to do a lot of things. We were going to build a new city hall, for goodness sakes, and what do? We ended up spending on a new fire station. So we did do a lot of things with that money. Coming into 2017, not as favorable in revenues coming through, but we still were able to deliver a balanced budget. And my message to council was, listen, here's your budget. I know that some of you have been very vocal. In projects or things that you want, please work within the parameters that we've given you. So I put them to work, and I tasked them with that project, because, and that's the other thing I believe that I've done in the last 2 years. I've said, you know what, this isn't on me. This is a team, and if you want something, you have to go to work just as much as I do. Now, of course, I've got people behind me that are helping me run daily operations, but they're also helping me trying to make the city successful and make you successful and provide you the resources you need as a council member. So my direction to them and my request to them was, please don't take money out of reserves. We can't afford it. We've trimmed this budget, we've gone through it, and we've cut stuff. We've cut items off here. We've got $17.6 million, over $12 million that's already accounted for, so we can't touch that. That's allotted money to certain things. When it all boiled down to it, we have about $5 million that we get to play with, and about half of that goes to salaries. So when you go citywide with a city our size, that's about what we're looking at. There's not a lot of money, but for some reason, some folks think that there's an endless pot of money because it's the government and we're the city, and there's a big pot at the end of the rainbow, and there's not. And in fact, revenues were down, so we weren't able to get new park equipment and do all these. We had to cut the park budget again. So we have to look, and sitting down with Mr. Boyce, we have to look long term and say, how are we going to get back to where we were? We need to do some more long range planning here. We need to figure out where our revenues are going, where they're coming from, how do we make them bigger? So my direction to council was work within the parameters that I gave you. Mr. Fredericks showed up to one budget meeting with about $50,000 in cuts and said, I've gone through the budget, I've done what the mayor's asked. I've got about $50,000 because there's certain things that I want, and he listed them off. And as we went through them, we boiled it down to about, I think, $17,000. The other stuff we just couldn't live without. So after seeing that and seeing Mr. Fredericks go through that and make those cuts, I went back to the office and said, okay, if they're willing to do that, if they're willing to go through, if he's willing to take the time and go through and find $50,000, potential $50,000, what are we going to bring to the table? What are we going to do now? Now, we've already provided a balanced budget.
Sure.
We went through and we trimmed more, and we brought more cuts back to the table. My goal was another $100,000, which was very lofty.
Right.
We didn't make that goal, but I cut my budget for the year coming up. We cut travel budgets. We have to do some creative things within the city to get employees training. Maybe we're doing web-based YouTube training instead of sending someone to Spokane now. We just can't afford to do that. We're living outside of our means. We still had to pull a little bit of money from reserves, but not as much as we needed to. One of the things we talk about, the Transportation Benefit District and funding that, that all came forward in 2016 talks during the budget of trying to figure out how we're going to fund more police officers. That's how are we going to make a more robust police department? How are we going to boost that up? So we came up with the idea during our council retreat that the 8 of us sat around the table and we were trying to be creative with where we're going to get the money for this because it's expensive. Let's create the Transportation Benefit District. We're putting about $240 at the time, I think $240,000 into our transportation system. Let's take that money, divert it over to the police department and get them some help. And our Transportation Benefit District will be funded up to about $262,000, so we still have that money for our roads. Did we gain anything? Not really. We gained some
police officers.
We got some police officers, but I mean the revenue, we're going to stay stagnant, but we're able to take care of the one department that is really needing some help here. So I went out and I tried my best to sell it. And there was some shenanigans behind the scenes that came out and said, well, wait a second. Some members of council were like, hold on a second, this is just too confusing for us. I don't understand. And of course, they took to the streets as well and said, don't do it. The mayor's trying to bamboozle you and steal your money, which wasn't the case. We were all on board when we walked out of that room. So, and of course, you've got two sides. We got one side saying we need better roads, and you got the other side saying we need more police officers. So we came to the table this year. We still went forward with the transportation. We've got a group of citizens over here that's saying, hey, we want better roads. And it almost passed. We got close. And guess what? We missed the police by 12 votes. But there was no effort that was put into it on that side. There was no effort that was put into it on transportation. I took a step back politically and said, I'm not doing this again. I'm not going to go out there and put my name on the line to have some of you turn around and stab me in the back and throw me under the bus. I just won't do it.
Come on, that's politics.
It is.
No.
But